Welcome to the Break 80 series. Today we're talking distance off the tee, shooting in the 70s consistently. How far you hit the ball, unfortunately, has a big bearing on your potential scores. Practicing distance, getting better at hitting it further, or just increasing or maximising the distance and the powers that you put in. It's a skill. It's no different to practicing on the putting green. They are skills of the game. This is a big one. So the stats around distance, when we look at the Arcos database, are truly eye-opening. So when we looked at players who added 10 or more yards of distance year on year, we saw an improvement on average of 1.8 shots. Just a huge improvement. And the players who lost 10 yards or more, they lost 0.79 worth of a shot on average, with 45% of them losing one or more strokes by losing 10 yards. The advantages of keeping your distance, beating your age, or even increasing your distance is just huge. Here are some really good practices to make sure you're getting the most, and even thinking about adding distance to make sure you're breaking 80. So what things can you do to make sure you're maximising your distance off the tee and not leaving stuff on the table? Because the further down you send it, the less you have in on your approaches, the more possibilities you've got of scoring lower, because you're going to just hit the ball closer with the next one. So some of the biggest power leaks I see from golfers, so what I mean by that is they put X speed in, let's say they put 100 mile an hour of clubhead speed in, but they don't get the distance that 100 mile an hour clubhead speed should warrant, because they're leaking power at different places. The first power leak would be centerness of strike. Your energy transfers from your expensive drivers are going to come from hitting in a certain space. For most people, it's around the geometric middle of the club head. Not hitting that spot, not being able to control where you hit the ball on the face, is a huge power leak for lots of golfers. So what I like to do with my students is we actually practice striking the ball on different parts of the face if they can't control it. Ask yourself this question: how often have you practiced putting before you go out and play? I reckon most of you have. How often have you practiced a few chip shots, a few iron shots in the net, on the range? How often do you practice strike when you go to the range or before you play? Lots of people don't, but good players do. If their strike is off, that's the only thing they'll focus on the range until that strike comes back. So practicing hitting some out the toe, out the heel, and then finding somewhere near the middle is a great game. You can take that further. You can go high toe, low toe, middle toe, high middle, low middle, high middle, and in the heel as well if you really want to push it. Good players can generally move that strike on the face to where they want it, meaning they can find the middle when they need to, because they're so well versed of hitting other parts of the face on purpose if they're asked to. Practicing strike is something loads of people don't do. More of you should. The next huge power leak is reducing curvature, the huge right to left or left to right. The more neutral your ball flight can be, the more you'll max out the power that you put in. Any glancing blows, think about loft. The loft on your club makes it a slightly glancing blow. It disperses some energy, if you like, but we need that loft to launch the ball. But if you have got loft, let's say you add loft, which lots of people do, you miss hit and you hit from an angle, these are all leaking power. So if you want to maximize your power, you've got to get a more straight on blow, which is going to require you not to have any extreme kind of setup positions that you see from people. No extreme club pass. These are all things that you should be working on to try and get that more neutral, straight on blow. Then we have equipment. You can definitely get some maxed out ideas in equipment. That's not going to push you as far as your technique, but making sure you've got lofts on your drivers that aren't just off the shelf, making sure they're tailored for your game. I've seen tour pros with 13-degree lofts, I've seen tour pros with 7-degree loft drivers, and everywhere in between. And it's the same with amateurs. There'll be a loft that suits your optimum delivery, that allows you to max out distance. These are all things where you can lose power and give shots back to the field. We want to be taking from the field as much as possible. Not a bad strike. And then the last point, which is often forgotten, is you can improve distance by practicing a lot of it by improving your instrument, your body. As someone who has improved their own distance, the way it reflects through your whole game is amazing. So what happens, obviously it's the driver that we focus on, but your irons get longer as well. So in turn you win, and then you win again. You hit it 10 yards further off the tee, and then you hit it a club further with your irons. That's 2 clubs less into greens. That's a massive difference for lowering your scores. And most of my work with increasing power was to do with technique, so I improved how I push in the ground and how I move, and these are things that you could go and have a lesson to make sure you're maximizing your stretches and how you use the ground and other things. But the other thing I did, which was a total game changer for me, something I've never done, is I started to work out at home. I started to do press-ups and other exercises, throw medicine balls. There are loads of great programs. I did some stack system work, which is a system that you can just swing a weighted club at home and measure your improvements as you go, and it works with you. It changes the weight. It's got an app. It's super clever. It basically develops as you develop. Practicing, getting better at distance is one of the main skills you can actually do off the course, more almost than any of the other skills. And then it's one that has one of the biggest effects on how you play the game. Trying to maximize your distance is going to transform how you play this game and change your potential scoring average, get you into the 70s consistently, almost more than anything else. And believe it or not, with the people I've improved distance with, they don't actually lose accuracy as much as people think when they start hitting it further. That's the common idea. You hit it further, you'll hit it further into trouble. And that's not always the way. But if you want to understand how driving accuracy affects your scoring in the Breaking 80 series, this video's got all the information on driving accuracy, which is giving people better chances of breaking that 80 score.